welcome to a 10-1-10-1 review. My name is Nessa and today we're talking about Research Story and how I felt after playing the game for 10 minutes, 1 hour, 10 hours, and 1 year in-game. As a person who does not have a lot of time to play games, I think that first impressions are super important, and the first 10 minutes and an hour of a game should give you the basic rundown of what that game has to offer. That being said, I also know that cozy games in the farming and life sim genre can have slow start, lengthy tutorials, and might just take some time to shine, which is why I think reviewing my experience at 10 hours and a year in game is also important, because how I feel at the 1 hour mark might be completely different than my experience at 10 hours, and that can change dramatically again after a year in game. I won't be rating Research Story on a scale, but I'll definitely talk about my experiences and what I liked and wished it did differently. Of course, disclaimer, my experience is subjective and you might find other things I didn't during the year. However, this should give you a good sense of how the game generally is, so you can make a decision on whether or not this game is for you. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Research Story is a farming and life simulation game developed by Paddlecat Games. It was released on PC on July 21st, 2025. In this game, you conduct research to grow crops and tame animals, as well as craft, build relationships, and live your life in the town of Shimmerbrook. Research Story retails for $13.99 USD and has a playable demo. It currently does not have any DLC. You are a researcher that has been invited to Shimmerbrook to research the surrounding plants, creatures, and fish, and write books which you submit to the Violet Archive for record keeping. There's no grand story in the game, but rather small events whenever you unlock something, such as completing a puzzle. The main focus of Research Story is the research that you do in order to complete the archive collection, and as of this review, I have not completed that collection yet. During the first 10 minutes, I received my invitation to join the research efforts in the peaks, where an unusual abundance of plants and creatures have been sighted. The Violet Archive is looking for researchers to join in their investigation efforts, and I decided that this was my time to shine. Right after this, I was able to create my character. There are a variety of different options, and I really liked being able to add a cute little bow to my little character. Once I selected my birthday, the scene fades and I'm teleported to my new home on the outskirts of Shimmerbrook. Already, I love the cute pixel art style and the 2D portraits of the first person that I talked to, which happened to be the head archivist of the Violet Archives named Valley. Her model is really interesting and I was captivated by her constellation freckles right away. She asked me to find the old farmer's tools and I spent some time getting used to the controls while I found the tools in the house. Afterwards, I got my first quest, which involved visiting the archives and finding someone named Ria to help with creature taming and raising endeavors. Once Valley leaves, I start cleaning out a small patch of land overgrown with trees to the left of my house so that I can prep my fields for planting. I did notice that my stamina depleted right away, so I wasn't able to clear much in my fields in the first 10 minutes. Already, everything was setting up to be a very traditional farming game for me. I was very used to getting introduced to a farm and then having a big expansive field filled with things that I had to clear. The tutorials came in a variety of different forms during this time, which included Valley's dialogue, a pop-up text tutorial box with an accompanying photo, letters in the mailbox, and also a big overlay on the top of the screen, which I thought was part of the UI for a bit of time. Other than that, the game lets you free roam, and I promptly got myself into town. I met other residents and researchers of the Violet Archive who are all very colorful, such as one having feathery features and another one having horns. I was enjoying my time as I took in the cute pixel art style. My first impression during the first 10 minutes is that the game seemed pretty standard for a farming simulation game, and I was curious to know how the research would factor into such a game, so I was very excited to continue playing. Shortly after my introduction to the Violet Archive and the researchers, I was introduced to the research system in the game, where I collect samples from foraging in the overworld and then using a magnifying glass to observe. Putting a sample into a research slot will allow me to start researching, which gives me a list of objectives to meet in order to successfully complete the book on that subject. The research journal is really impressive to me and holds all the information that my character has gathered on various subjects that I've observed. It gives vital information such as growing conditions of plants, the diets and habits of creatures, and the conditions and time of day to catch fish. I learned a hard lesson right away about the importance of checking the research journal before trying to grow anything, as my peppermint plant withered the very next day after I planted them because I did not follow the condition of growing them close to water. This system is the crux of the entire game, where you have to really meet the conditions to successfully grow plants or tame creatures and catch fish. Some plants have quite intricate growing conditions that include different acidity in their soil, or the requirement of full sunlight, or even specific fertilizers. Creatures have different food requirements and traits, which will increase their bond level faster if you're able to fulfill their conditions, such as moving them closer to water or vegetables, or away from other creatures. Creatures can also follow you, and you have access to their special skills once their bond is high enough. For example, my duck will give me an additional fish whenever I go fishing, up to 3 times before the power is depleted for the day. Every creature has something unique, so I think it's very interesting to see which skills are associated with which creature. My first impression of the game was completely shattered, and my mindset had to change, since the goal was not to grow a profitable farm, but just do what I could to complete the requirements for me to finish that book so that I can research something else. Whenever a book about a topic is completed, you can submit it to the Violet Archives, and once all books in a specific collection are completed, then you're able to collect a reward that usually comes in the form of a furniture item, a craftable item, or even a potion that increases a stat temporarily. Completing enough books also allows you to increase your research level, which gives you the ability to unlock more slots so that you can conduct more research on things simultaneously. During my hour, my ability to conduct research was severely limited by the number of research slots that I had available. There were so many plants and creatures that I wanted to research at the time. However, since I only had 2 slots, I had to choose what I wanted to focus on. My hour passed by extremely fast because I was so busy trying to complete my research on sprout kittens and cloudberries and trying to grow peppermint again, but with the right conditions. I was loving how I had clear goals to work towards, even though there was no main overarching story. I could already tell that the research mechanic was going to keep me engaged with the game for a while. At the 10-hour mark, I made it to summer 27. In the 10 hours, I was still working on various research and had increased my research level 2 times. Researching was still really fun to do at this point. There were just so many plants and creatures to study. I was surprised that some creatures required observing their behaviors to complete their objectives. I like this change up of having to spend some time with the creatures to know them better. It's like a real researcher would have to do if they were observing animals in the wild. Creatures and plants were not the only friends that I was hanging out with during my 10 hours, as luckily I was also introduced to the Hangout system. Once you get a blue heart with a character, you can choose to go hang out with them. This will prompt you to select a date on the calendar and the location. Each location has different activities associated with it, and there are both story-related locations and the casual location of the garden. You can only go to the story-related dates once, while you can repeat the casual dates. Once the day arrives, the character will wait for you near the meeting spot, and once you start the date, they'll follow you around to different activities. In the story-related dates, the characters will have unique dialogue to give you more information about themselves, while in the casual dates, you'll see a little scene of you two interacting with each other, but there will be no dialogue. Another way the casual dates differ from the story one is that there will be hearts on the ground for you to collect to fill up your fun meter. The more you fill it up, the better impression that they will have of you after the date. I really like that you have some control over which activity you want to do with your date, and the dialogue in the story related dates also gives you a choice that you can make. I also appreciate that if you show up late to a date, you can still go out on one, but you won't have enough time to complete all of the activities, so you really want to strive to get there at the right time. Overall, I think the story related dates do a great job of making me more familiar with the romanceable characters, and I really like the agency that it gives you to move around and do activities in any order instead of just watching a cutscene. I also unlocked the mines and was slowly making my way down the different floors to explore and gather ores so I can upgrade my tools. Mining in this game functions similarly to other farming sims, where you have to break rocks to reveal a ladder that will allow you to go to a deeper floor. Research story differs in the way that it handles the monsters that dwell in the mines. Instead of having to fight them, they are research subjects that you can seek out to learn more about, just like the creatures that live outside of the mines. There are also plants and fish in the mines to learn about as well. Furthermore, the mines elevator to help you get back to a different level is not working at the beginning. Around this time, in 10 hours, I haven't figured out a way to make it operational yet. I did manage to go down 20 floors before using all my food to replenish stamina, and noted that the floors changed to a more desert biome. I thought that going down further will unlock the elevator, but that isn't the case, and no matter how far down I went, it did not activate. I was able to make it deeper into the mines whenever I stocked up on food, but there's only so far I can go before I either run out of stamina or I run out of time because you knock out at 3 a.m. I wasn't a big fan of the mines at this time as it was difficult to go down without having access to the elevator. However, I'm sure like other puzzles in the game, I would eventually find the solution. I do appreciate that the game does not hold your hand on solutions to puzzles. You really have to pay attention to the dialogue and also find the solution by yourself. And of course, I eventually did find a way to get the elevators up and running, but that did take a little bit more time than the 10 hours that I had. There was still so much to do, and I felt like not enough time to do it. Just like in the first 10 minutes, an hour of playing, I was still eager to play more, and I was having that one more day syndrome because I really wanted to complete my research and move on to the next one. I finished a year in game after 22 hours of playtime. At this point, I had just gotten my first romanceable NPC to red heart level and unlocked the engagement process. I also just recently unlocked the ability to craft a preservation machine so that I can preserve items and display them in the Violet archives to increase their monetary value for the week. I had upgraded my house to the first tier and had a greenhouse, a dormancy barn, and almost a storage shed on my property. During the year, I completed my books and got up to research level 4. This means that I had the ability to conduct research on 4 topics simultaneously. I also completed 6 out of the 34 book collections. So with a year under my belt, here are some things that I liked and things that I wish the game did differently. I like the research mechanic in the game a lot. There's always something to study, and even though it does get very overwhelming, since there's just so much to do and not enough time in a month due to your limited research slot, and just the fact that you're starting out the first year, I always felt as though I had a goal to work towards, whether it was taming animals or growing specific plants. So the researching part of this game definitely is a big highlight for me. I really like the research conditions that the game has for plants and creatures. Each have their own different requirements to fulfill their condition. So it's very important to look at your research journal to see what those requirements are. This makes the research in the game feel impactful because of the different methods you have to use. I wasn't sure in the beginning how the game would implement the research, but the devs did a really great job of making research fun, and they did a really great job of making me want to do research so that I could complete my archive collection. I'm a big fan of being able to upgrade my tool without actually losing them in the process. In other farming sim games, whenever you go and upgrade a tool at the blacksmith, you lose the ability to use that tool while the blacksmith is working on it. You cannot water your plants or chop trees, for example. However, in Research Story, the blacksmith makes you a different tool which replaces your current one once you go to pick it up. I really like that your tools are still usable, so you don't have to plan around not having them and not going to the mines or chopping trees for a certain amount of time. I like the dating system. As I mentioned earlier, the agency to go around and choose which activities and dates to go on is really fun. I also like getting to know the romanceable characters more and feeling like I actually am having a conversation with them, since I get to be a little bit more active in choosing the choices during the dialogue portion. I'm a huge fan of the festivals in this game. They are also unique with different activities that you can do. In the Spring Festival, you're able to write your own poem and vote for which one you like best. You can make ice cream in the summer one with different ingredients, create lanterns and do a quiz in the autumn one, and compete in a snow fight competition in the winter one. All these are interactive and unique, and I'm always excited for the next festival. I like that the game has shimmer variation of creatures. Shimmers are shiny versions that appear in the wild at less frequent rates. I do like that whenever they appear, they will stay on the map for a little bit, so you can go and get the required food to tame them. If they appear in the caves, however, you're out of luck since the cave floors are randomized, so exiting and coming back in will lead you to a different floor. This extra feature makes it fun to go around looking for creatures, especially since the chance rate is not so low that they're incredibly hard to find, and you're not extremely sad that you miss out on them if you happen to find one in a cave and you don't have food. I like the ladders in the mine show up pretty frequently, and there are usually multiple ladders on each floor, so you do not have to spend your entire time breaking every single rock to find one on most occasions. Usually mining is not my favorite part of the game, though I have to do it a lot to upgrade equipment and get ores, so I appreciate it when a game makes mining easier in any way. I struggled a lot with money during my playthrough during the first year until I found that you can go in and out of the mines to reset it and then mine the ores that you want. I actually found this out because I was trying to get coal, which is surprisingly pretty rare in this game compared to the other ores that spawn. Because of that, I was able to get stacks of copper, tin, and sometimes amethyst, which I could sell outright for some gold. I was able to conserve my energy and mine coal whenever it popped up. This really helped with upgrading my tools and funding my research endeavors, since buying food for the creatures is expensive, and crafting food, depending on what it is, can also be resource expensive. The game is still a little buggy, and even though I have not encountered too many of them, the ones that I have encountered have caused me to restart my game all over again. One of such happened around 3.7 hours while I was fishing. My character became stuck and unable to move or cancel her action. I tried to use the unstuck button from the main menu, but it didn't help. I had to restart the entire day again. Another big bug that I found was when Theo, the woodcutter, informed me that he was going away for 2 weeks and then proceeded to get stuck near the blacksmiths for days on end while he was supposed to be away. Even though Theo was stuck for days, it didn't really make too much of a difference since he was supposed to be gone anyways, so I didn't have access to his shop either way. Although I like the dating mechanic in this game, sometimes I think the choices could be less extreme. Usually when you have a choice in how to steer the conversation, it's either be a good person and listen to your date, or be a really rude person where picking the option is sure to not make your date happy. I'm not really sure why someone would take one of these NPCs on a date and then choose to make them unhappy, since there's so much planning involved and having to set the date, and then the date consumes such a big portion of your day that I just don't think it's worth it. I think some crafting requirements could be much clearer. For example, I didn't craft any of the veggie food bowls or any of the fish bait because I thought you needed specifically a garlic to make it happen. Even though the text does say any under it, the picture clearly shows a garlic or a ladybug or a chamomile seed. So I thought that there was no substitutions for that. When I finally experimented and used another vegetable and bug to craft the food dishes, it ended up working. However, there was not really any indication that you can substitute the items. I think that it would help for new players if you had the photos rotating a little bit so it's not always on the garlic, but maybe it changes to a different vegetable so that new players know that they have a choice. Seeing how I still have a woodcutter to marry and more research to complete, especially now that I have more resources to accommodate the spring crop's condition for growth, I am still excited to play this game and will probably play a few more seasons to get married and complete more collections. I really think that the research mechanic in the game is a major highlight and changes up the farming sim genre for the better. The conditions that the crops need to grow in are really extensive, and I love observing creatures in the wild and seeing what abilities they can unlock when our bonds get better. I think that this game might be for you if you like researching in order to raise crops and creatures. This game is certainly not one where you can just plant a large quantity of crops. In fact, there were many occasions where I would only be able to plant a few of them due to their conditions. If you're looking for a farming sim game where the emphasis is how you grow the plants and raise creatures, instead of a traditional farming sim with research on the side, then this game might be for you. Well, there you have it. What do you think about the research conditions in this game? What game should I review next? Let me know in the comments below. And like always, if you like what I do and you want to see more, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. It'll really help the channel out and hopefully help people find my channel easier. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the review. I have been Nessa. I have more research to conduct, and I'll see you in the next 10-1-10-1. Take care.